Delusional parasitosis is a psychiatric condition where a person develops an absolute, unshakable conviction that parasites are infesting their body. Their brain generates the complete sensory experience of infestation: crawling, biting, movement under the skin, with such neurological reality that no evidence can penetrate the belief. Medical testing reveals nothing. Skin biopsies show no organisms. The doctors see clean skin. The patient feels and sees the parasites, and it consumes their life. This is hell on earth. The suffering is continuous. The condition is treatment-resistant. And for most people who develop it, there can feel like there is no relief and no escape. The primary symptom is formication, tactile hallucinations of insects crawling on or under the skin. Neuroimaging studies show that the somatosensory cortex in these patients is genuinely activating. The brain regions responsible for processing touch and pain are firing in patterns identical to actual physical sensations. The person isn't imagining a feeling. Their brain is generating real sensory input without external stimulus. Patients describe constant crawling, biting, stinging sensations. Some report seeing movement under the skin or fibers emerging from pores. The experience is specific, detailed, and relentless. It doesn't stop. There are no breaks. The sensations persist through every waking moment and prevent sleep. The compulsion to remove the parasites becomes overwhelming. Patients spend hours excavating their skin with bug killer, poisons, tweezers, needles, razor blades. They're trying to extract what their sensory system tells them with absolute certainty is there. Studies documenting these patients show extensive skin damage from repetitive picking and scratching. Some patients develop ulcers that penetrate deep into tissue. One central part of the condition is called the matchbox sign, where the patient collects samples of the parasite to show doctors. They show these to loved ones and bring these to medical appointments as evidence. The result is the same. No parasitic organisms identified. The samples contain keratin, cellulose fibers from clothing, household dust. The patients reject these findings completely. The same part of their brain telling them they have a parasite is also misfiring in such a way that makes it impossible to accept that this issue may not be physical. Research shows delusional parasitosis occurs at a rate of roughly 27 cases per 100,000 people. Though exact numbers are potentially much higher because many patients never engage with psychiatric care. The neurobiology isn't fully understood, but research points to dysfunction in dopaminergic pathways. The same brain systems implicated in other psychotic disorders appear disrupted. But here's where the condition becomes a trap. The dopaminergic hypothesis, the brain imaging, the treatment response. None of this matters to the patient, because accepting treatment requires accepting that the parasites aren't real. The condition itself makes this impossible. From the patient's neurological perspective, the sensory input is indistinguishable from actual infestation. Their reality is coherent and consistent with everything their brain is telling them. The social consequences are devastating. Family members watch their loved one destroy their skin, spend thousands on extermination services, throw away furniture, move repeatedly. When family members can't see the parasites, the patient interprets this as betrayal or incompetence. Relationships fracture. Significant social isolation in over 70% of cases. Many patients lose employment. They can't focus on work when they're experiencing constant sensory assault and spending hours in compulsive extraction behaviors. The medical journey is its own form of suffering. By the time a patient reaches a psychiatrist, which is a big if since they rarely ever do, they've typically seen multiple dermatologists, infectious disease specialists, and primary care physicians. Each appointment follows the same pattern: negative findings, recommendation for psychiatric evaluation, patient rejection of this recommendation. This doctor shopping behavior, where patients seek dozens of medical opinions hoping to find a provider who will validate their experience and treat the infestation. Some doctors respond with frustration or dismissal. Most simply don't know how to help someone who refuses psychiatric referral. The patient leaves each appointment feeling more isolated, more certain that the medical establishment is either incompetent or deliberately ignoring their condition. Trust in medical care erodes completely at the exact moment when specialized psychiatric intervention is most needed. Treatment outcomes are poor. Antipsychotic medications, specifically dopamine antagonists, are the only treatments that show efficacy. Pimozide was historically the first-line treatment, though newer atypical antipsychotics like risperidone, aripiprazole, and olanzapine are now preferred due to better side effect profiles. A 2018 systematic review of treatment studies found that while antipsychotics show some efficacy, adherence is extremely low. Most patients discontinue medication within weeks. Those who continue often do so at subtherapeutic doses. The side effects of antipsychotics, weight gain, sedation, extrapyramidal symptoms, metabolic changes, are significant. When someone is certain their problem is parasitic rather than psychiatric, tolerating these side effects makes no sense. Even in cases where patients remain on medication and symptoms improve, relapse rates are high. The research literature contains almost no long-term recovery studies. Follow-up data is sparse because patients disengage from care. Many people with this condition will never achieve sustained remission. Some patients spend decades in this state. The skin damage accumulates into permanent disfigurement. Social connections sever completely. Financial resources deplete from repeated medical visits, home treatments, relocations. The isolation becomes total. This is one of psychiatry's most treatment-resistant conditions, specifically because the mechanism of the illness prevents access to treatment. The delusional conviction functions as both the symptom and the barrier to care. There's no bridge between the patient's experienced reality and the medical understanding of their condition. The only way to treat this is to build a bridge of trust between the doctor and patient. Being patient and acknowledging their experience and symptoms feel real, while finding a way to get them to trust that a medication such as risperidone, aripiprazole, or pimozide will help their suffering go away. Because while the cause may come from their head, the suffering is absolutely real. The parasites are not, and for most people with delusional parasitosis, this contradiction will define the rest of their lives. They will exist in a private hell, disbelieved and alone, for as long as the condition persists. Or worse, suicide. But it's also why finding an approach that meets patients where they are, that acknowledges their suffering without demanding they immediately abandon their experienced reality, may be the only path forward. Without new frameworks for engagement, for building trust, for gradual treatment acceptance, most people with this condition will never escape it. Finding a way forward that actually works for patients isn't just preferable. It may be the difference between a life of discomfort and the possibility of a life worth living.